Welcome. Today's top news: economics, banking, finance, technology, startup, and sustainability for you. September 8th, 2025. The markets are closed. Friday, Saturday. We'll start with the flash news. In India, government keeping good watch on rupee and as several currencies. The finance minister has said rupee depreciation is part of the global trend as many currencies weaken against strengthening dollar. It's a good point. RBI is intervening through state-run banks to limit sharp rupee declines and ensure orderly currency movement. Despite depreciation, India's macroeconomic fundamentals remain strong, helping contain panic or speculative selling. So clearly, the policy response are well calibrated to global condition, balancing export competitiveness with import cost control. India and European Union to hold 13th round of FTA talks in Delhi. Possibly, pact will be signed by year end. Nominal GDP growth may miss financial year 26 target on soft inflation, but the real GDP growth remains on track between 6.3 to 6.8. India Israel likely to sign bilateral investment treaty next week. India raises the issue of trade imbalance, export controls at SEO meet. This is a very, very important point. Persistent trade imbalance, especially with China, where India's deficit has reached over 100 billion for the year 2025. India called for better market access, cooperation on standards, streamlined trade facilitation to address deficit. Export restrictions on rare earth magnets and fertilizers by China were highlighted as harming India's auto and electronic sectors. Again, very important point: trade and climate risk management. India warned that climate linked trade measures must not lead to arbitrary or unjustified discrimination. That's the essence of India's. What about Middle East? Global economic outlook remained resilient against trade turbulence. That's what Qatar National Bank is saying. And Muscat Stock Exchange market cap jumps to over 30 billion Omani riyal. Oman industrial sector profits surged by nearly 476% in second quarter. Kuwait National Fund is committed to financing tourism technology initiative. Saudi mortgage-backed securities to grow in 180 billion home loan market. UAE real GDP growth at 3.9% for the first quarter 2025. And Dubai Chamber signed MOU with Victorian Chamber. That's interesting. Now, when it comes to rest of the world news, Chinese agency assigned AAA rating to Russian oil major Gazprom. Yen sinks after Japan Prime Minister Ishiba resigns. China rate cut outlook in doubt as stock rally steers concern. Japan revises GDP for the second quarter higher on upbeat on consumer spending. Now, in Turkey's inflation is 28.5% in 2025 with the single digits by 2027 program. And Indonesia wants to extend edge over India on rate cut bets. What about European news? Russia exports slide, forcing a rethink at some Chinese car makers. UK wages are growing at weakest pace since COVID. American news: Standard Chartered revises Fed cut expectation to 50 basis point in September after weak US job data. That there is a possibility. Perhaps it's required as well, in my opinion. Besant says Russian economic woes can bring Putin to table. Who knows? White House asset says Fed needs to be fully independent from Trump. Of course, central bank are technocrats. They don't do politics. They look at economics objectively, whether money supply, interest rate, or inflation. They take the monetary policy with a high professional approach. Now, tech and startup news. Red Sea cable cut disrupts internet across Asia and the Middle East. OpenAI links up with Broadcom to produce its own AI chips. Indian bank migrates to secure web portal. Sustainability news. Europe electric car industry urges EU not to delay CO2 emission targets. And EU car makers close in on emission goals. Mercedes lacks, says the market report. That's the essence of today's top news world over. Keep watching us. We'll bring you the best.